No one has control over what zip code they're born into, yet those numbers could define your future, like the quality of air you breathe, or the long-term health of your lungs, and even the number of years you have left to live. For generations, our cities have been divided and designed with clear objectives, with power plants, incinerators, and trucking routes disproportionately running through communities of color. But without the data to prove quality, our city governments may be blind to plan for a fairer, greener future. Innovators are experimenting with solutions to see our air, block by block, and map it out. Could that data create a country more just for all?
My name is Darren Riley. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Just Air. My background's always been in tech, but I was always interested. I had this itch around entrepreneurship as a means to leverage technology to solve real issues that are near and dear to my heart. My father actually went into the ICU in a coma due to asthma-related illnesses. And I've also developed asthma as an adult as well. So one of the big watershed moments for me in my life was when my father actually came out of prison. I'll never forget this phone call when I was around 15 years old. He said I was a product of my environment. And I never forget, like, that snapped for me, opened my view on the world. And that's when I really understood that, oh, a person in the environment are almost one. It's the fabric of my culture and the communities that I come from. It's the story of my father and myself, of the illnesses that happen to be a part of their environment. And so we create micro-level air quality monitoring networks within cities. So communities, the cities themselves, and individuals have the proper data to protect themselves in their breathing environment. I've always been really passionate about how do I alleviate those systematic issues to allow a person to really have an equal go at it in life.
Environmental justice is the disproportionate impacts that continue to happen in communities of color, lower wealth communities, and indigenous populations from pollution. That's the government's definition. What it really is the sacrifice zones that we create across the country where we place everything that nobody else wants. If we want to talk about, real examples of how environmental injustice is played out, you have places like Southwest Detroit, where when kids wake up, instead of looking out their windows and seeing trees and green spaces, what they see is the refineries that are there. And they see the smoke coming out of the stacks. Or you can go to places like the Manchester community in Houston, Texas, a hard-working Latinx community. But if you roll down the windows of your car on certain days, you feel like you're breathing in gasoline fumes. We have 100,000 people who die prematurely from air pollution in our country. You have these types of situations that are environmental injustice, that are fueled by environmental racism, and we can change each and every one of them.
When we look at some of the systemic issues that create these disparities, whether it's health, economic, class, etc. So I think air quality is a sliver of all the many injustices that we see in the world that we can really focus on. And so Just Air is really started from that thesis.
In the early 70s, with the Clean Air Act, the federal government declared that cities needed to keep track of the quality of air that its citizens were breathing.
Or shall we make our peace with nature and begin to make reparations for the damage we have done to our air, to our land, and to our water?
And in general, a city could only afford one air quality monitoring station. Grand Rapids, just one station. That station is really effectively only gathering the air within a several block radius around that. But then the government has to say, well, this is the air for all of Grand Rapids. It turns out that approximation is way off the mark. What we are trying to do is take advantage of the advances in sensor technology, where we can deploy multiple 50, if not 100 sensors throughout a city like Grand Rapids, so that on a neighborhood level, a block-to-block level, people can access an insight into the quality of air that they're breathing on any given day.
So we're actually here at the Cook Arts Center, and we picked this area in Granville, which is a traditionally historic Hispanic and Black community. This is one of our first installments here of our sensor. And so for this device, we're taking track of particulate matter. It could be like dust or metals that are floating in the air, which can impact the lungs. Our whole strategy is really to create clusters. So we have a cluster of 5 sensors per neighborhood, give or take. One is downtown, which is a traditional metro downtown area. And then we have our other sensors in Granville, Roosevelt Park area. That's traditionally, historically, a Black and Hispanic community where actually there's heavy trucking traffic and there's a lot of different industries. And so comparing the 2 data sets, we're already seeing differences in the data. So what I'm seeing here is one of our sensors close by Hall Street had 89 counts of unhealthy and 7 times where it was measured unhealthy for general population. And 6th Street Park had 0 unhealthy days and only 13. There are disparities between sensors within the city, and one sensor doesn't detect that. So this is Grand Rapids, so we zooming in here. This is our 11 sensors. Above, this is the reference station. So this is the one monitor that Grand Rapids has. So that it was only one dot trying to cover this whole city, right? Once we get the full data set and mapping, we want to work with cities to find the best way and the best means to share that data in a way that really informs folks to take action.
Data definitely is one of the most powerful mechanisms to shift change and to identify priorities, identify opportunities for funding. In the 100 largest cities in the U.S., that communities that were predominantly comprised of people of colors, we saw that they had 44% less access to green space than communities that were in predominantly white neighborhoods.
When we look at zip codes, in one area, people may live 10, 15, 20 years longer than people who are just a short distance away.
This is a nonpartisan concern when we're talking about the health and well-being of individuals. And so when we have the data to back it up, that's how we're able to better make the case for investing in green infrastructure, investing in neighborhood, and investing in communities. One of the barriers or the obstacles that we face come down to how the resources and the budgets are being prioritized. And I think right now the tensions around those decisions are really high.
We want to make sure that the human's life is valued beyond just the data point. We have 11 sensors to date. We're in conversations in Detroit. We're in conversations in Chicago. We're really focused on the Midwest, some of these major cities. After we get the data, we want to make sure that we're actually moving the needle and reducing some of those health disparities. It's on us who live here now to realize that the value of our life is really meaningful, that after the folks that come after us, they have a better chance no matter where they're born and what skin color they're born into.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.